Right now, the hottest team in the West are the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like I said, they have the second best record in the entire league and the best record in the Western Conference at 39-16. They're number one in defense allowed at 106.7, number two in point differential, winning by 7.2 points per game. They have 6 players averaging double figures and 2 All-Stars in Ant-Man and Karl Anthony Towns, and obviously that defensive anchor at the 5 and Rudy Gobert and some decent role players, man. How much of a threat for a team on that roster when no one's really had deep runs? How much of a threat are the Timberwolves this year, man?
I think they're about as much of a threat to get past the second round as the franchise has ever been. And I will say this, for all the jokes we gave them for giving up all of the picks, and it's still a funny trade, the picks that they gave up for Rudy Gobert, it is at least starting to be fruitful. And I think that, too, just from a fan perspective, I've always told y'all about this, but like being able to see Ant, for multiple rounds in the playoffs, that is something I'm looking forward to and that I want to happen. So I think about, because in order for them to get to the Western Conference Finals, if they stay a 1 seed, which is obviously the most favorable for them, and I'm going to say the Lakers are going to get to 6. I don't think that they're going to get down to. Yeah, I don't think that they'll be playing. So that would mean they'd probably match up with either Dallas or Sacramento. That's not the best matchup, in my opinion, just because I like Sac and their team as far as just their experience from last year. But I think that I just like what Ant has as far as just being a up and coming superstar, and I think that depending on who they get in the second round, whether it's if Denver stays 4, which I don't think will happen, I think they'll continue to rise. Yeah. If they get the Clippers or if they get Phoenix, it'll be tough. Like, it'd be a 7-game series probably. And I would just, again, as a fan, be going for Minnesota instead of fuck Clippers. Fuck them niggas. But yeah, it can't be Denver and it can't be Phoenix, because I think Phoenix would beat them. But other than that, I'd take Minnesota to get to the Western Conference Finals.
What about you, Carl?
Yeah, I just can't put too much into the Timberwolves yet. I think they're, for me, one of those teams of I'll believe it when I see it, but I don't not believe that you can do it, but you're gonna have to show me. I like, clearly they're playing well in the regular season, but to me they more remind me of the Grizzlies from just like a year ago, when they were, I think they finished with the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed, but as soon as they got to the playoffs, their youth and inexperience just kind of showed. And Rudy Gobert has some experience, but that's about it I can think of, and he's not a scorer, and he usually gets cooked on defense in the playoffs too. So yeah, Cat ain't been to the playoffs but with like 2 times, and he's been kind of when he's been Anthony Edwards last year was just very up and down. Like in those playing games, I think he went like 1 for 11 in one of those games or something. Sure, but yeah, I think to me that's the main thing separating Ant from like a star and a superstar right now, is just like being more consistent with it. I think he can. I think he definitely for sure at one point will, but I think that right now is kind of like their biggest thing. They do have Mike Conley.
I was about to ask you, and that's one of the things I was gonna say. I feel like he's too old now, but if they had an upgraded point guard, I feel a little bit more confident. But I don't know Mike Conley.
Mike Conley's, he's good for them because he's just the steady old point guard who does a lot of the right things, decent on defense still. But I think with a team like this, it would be more beneficial if your veteran was at least like a 15-a-game guy or something like that, But yeah, they're good. We'll just see. We've seen a lot of fraudulent 1 seeds in the past couple of years. Where we kind of just get back to realizing like, oh, the playoffs are about star power.
Yeah.